Hello and welcome to the next episode of Meet the Society. I'm delighted to be joined today by two of our female match officials, so I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Vicky. I am in my third season, just going into my third season with Mad Refs. I started 2 years ago when I relocated back to the UK. And I've been doing pretty much any games I can take for most weekends throughout the three seasons. So boys games, Colts games, adult men's games, women's games. I'm currently reffing at level 8 and just seeing how far I can go. But I actually started my refereeing journey as a touch football referee, so refereeing touch football. And then I decided I wanted to start refereeing union because I knew the game better. I enjoyed it more. Don't tell the others that. And yeah, it was just more fun for me. So that's why I started refereeing union, and I really enjoyed it.
Hi, I'm Rosie. So I've been with the Society. This is just my second season now. I used to play, so ex-player, only played for a short period and then joined as a result of injury and through some support tickets they were offering out for female match officials for the Erith course. I'm currently at level 9 for refereeing.
Good. Well, pleased to have you both. Thank you for joining me. I think I'd just like start off straight away. I'd love to know what's it like being a female match official. Is there much difference? Do you find that maybe when you from maybe a society level first, and then potentially when you go to a club, do you find like there's anything stand out difference wise or something like that?
Yeah, so when I joined the society 3 years ago, I went to the first society meeting and I kind of expected to be the only woman in the room, but I kind of hoped I wouldn't be. So I turned up, everyone introduced themselves to me. I stood out like a sore thumb in the room. But now every society meeting, there's about 4 or 5 of us there who can get there, which is great. And there's a great community. And since I started out over the last 3 years, particularly in the lead up to the 2025 Women's World Cup that's taking place in England next year, the RFU have been doing loads to promote female match officials and promote female coaches as well. So through that, I've been able to meet and get to know other female match officials, both around the country, but also those closer to home, like those in Liverpool, which is really great. So it's great to see each season more and more women are joining this community and becoming match officials. And it's good to share experiences because some of our experiences tend to be slightly different, or we have quite a lot of inferiority in terms of we don't feel like we're good enough to be out there. So it's good to share these feelings with people we feel comfortable talking about them with. And then in terms of going out to clubs, I'll never forget my first run out at Wythenshawe, where I turned up, I asked where the changing room was. They showed me the shack in the middle of the field, and the lad who showed me to the changing room said, "What's it like to be a female match official?" And at the time I was like, I didn't want to tell him it was my first game, so I didn't say anything. But looking back at it, I was like, well, I don't really know because I've never been a male match official either, so I can't compare the difference, right? But in terms of being treated different, I don't think so. I think naturally there's people behave, particularly men behave differently around me compared to possibly a male match official. There isn't that just male versus male kind of competition, supposedly. But yeah, I think I don't want to be treated different, and I want to be treated like a male match official. I want to be respected like a male match official and be respected that I know the laws and I know the game as much as any of my peers that turn up each Saturday. So yeah, I think the experience I've had at clubs has been really friendly. They're usually really accommodating in terms of finding places we can change and things like that. So yeah, it's been good, and it's become more normal as well. I don't turn up and then be like, oh, you're the first female match official we've had, which is great.
That's good. And I think it's good that we're all like we're not male or female match officials. All we want to try and get it so we are a match official on the day. It doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter who's reffing who or what teams there are. Whether it's Colts, we don't send under 18s to referee Colts games exclusively, do we? We don't send like vice versa. So it's a nice mix of like we're all as. And Rosie, from your perspective, obviously you said you were coming from like a small playing background. Like, how have you found that transition into becoming a match official? And is there anything that probably stands out to you on the bumpy or smooth journey, whichever one it was?
I suppose it's probably a little bit bumpy. My sort of family-in-law history is very much based around rugby, and my other half said to me when I first started doing my errors and first started refereeing, like, I don't know why you're going to do it because it's really tough. And like, I think as a referee on the pitch, like, everyone has their view of the match, and so I think that takes a lot of it into account. I think sometimes, even as a female match official, you don't want to be treated differently, and sometimes it's brilliant and you get all this really positive feedback sometimes after matches of it's great to see a female match official, but I think a lot of it is it's quite a daunting, I suppose, task to step out onto that pitch. And I think a lot of the time we have a great community behind us, as Vicky sort of referred to earlier. We've got match official groups, we've got Facebook groups, WhatsApp groups, and there's a lot of people that we can reach out to. I think sometimes you are on your own on the pitch, which can be quite daunting and I'm not very tall, so I think a lot of the time even the Colts are skies above me. So I think it's quite it's interesting. I think when you're out there, it's amazing. It's such a good feeling, and as Vicky said, you don't want to be treated any differently. And a lot of the time now, we're generally not. We're not the first female referee that they've had. There's a lot more accommodation. I've had my share of shacks even within the last couple of years that are a little bit less to be desired, shall we say. But the teams are always really accommodating and always really friendly. I think no matter where you go or where you're appointed, everyone's always really welcoming, and I don't think there's any difference of that between refs, whether you're female or male. I think it takes some keenness to get out onto the pitch, but every now and then there's people supporting you. People who are local come down and will watch you and support you. I've had my family down, which I've got a comment once like, oh, we were going to say something, but you've got kids, so we feel like we can't, which did make me laugh, but it would be no different if there was a male ref there either, I think. But yeah, it's nice that there is, no matter if you're on your own on that day, you've got your assessor behind you, you've got a WhatsApp group or another female match official in the society, or other female match officials from other society who we're connected with, who support and sort of big each other up a little bit. So it's definitely an experience, but it's definitely worth it.
Good. I think like something that's been really common, a theme across obviously the previous ones we've done of these chats wise, is that sort of ongoing development for everyone. Like, everyone's trying to get better, everyone's trying to offer advice to everyone, and everyone's trying to sort of be the best referee they can. And obviously you two already, in short period for you, Rosie, and a slightly longer for you, Vicky, have already gone to level 8, level 9, and it's about that, wanting to be, potentially, could you stay on once you feel like you can't add any more on the pitch, and start coaching other FMOs, other referees, to become sort of the best referees they can. I think I'd be really interested to know, and you both touched on it, around that community that you speak about within the female match official side. So obviously, yeah, like you said, England Rugby have made and particularly the RFU have made a big song and dance about supporting female match officials on the lead up to the 2025 World Cup. Like, Vicky, I know that you've been working with the RFU on multiple strands of work. Is there anything that you wanted to touch on in that?
Yeah, so over the last couple of years, they've done a couple of initiatives to increase the number of female match officials. So the goal is 500 new female match officials by 2025, next year when the World Cup. And things like that is like what Rosie did. She got a voucher to complete the England Refereeing Award. So I've been, where I can, supporting to promote that. They've also done some conferences. So the year before last, so my first season, there was the Everest conference, and this was great. We got to meet with female match officials from London, from Devon, from Scotland. There was quite a lot of Scottish there as well. And this is just really great for us to talk about what we're worried about on the pitch, because we don't always, yes, there's great support in Manchester society, and I know that's come up in a lot of the other sessions you've done. But I don't think all societies have the same kind of support behind them, and so it's a great chance for us to connect, build that network. So if we've had a bad day on the pitch, or something's gone wrong, or you've sent someone off and you've got upset about it, you have someone to call up at the end of the day. You can call them up on your way home and feel comfortable about doing that. So yeah, that's kind of where I can, and where there's initiatives in place to support female match officials, I've been trying to use that to promote to ourselves within Manchester and further afield, so that there is never that situation again where someone walks into a society meeting and then they're the only female in the room. And I think I really want to see, obviously there's been a lot in the society for young match officials as well, but we haven't yet kind of got a young female match official kind of wanting to commit to it. So that's something I'd really love to see in the future, and hopefully this initiative from the RFU will do that. I know it's doing it over in Liverpool with there's a young girl there who's trying to work her way through, so hopefully that will happen in Manchester soon.
Good. It's anything we can do to help support, and that, yeah, like you said, there's been a massive drive probably nationwide for YMOs, but that doesn't necessarily just mean a male YMO. It's got to be that sort of both sexes, and the both drive to get new people into refereeing, no matter what it is. And I mean, in my eyes, I think that it doesn't necessarily have to be sort of that younger person who starts up. It's people like Rosie, you finishing playing and then becoming refereeing, like people who are thinking about finishing coaching, finishing reffing, whatever sort of ability they thought they could add to the pitch and add to that community of rugby as a whole. I think that's valuable, isn't it? And obviously the female match officials are a massive part of that. I think, Rosie, is there anything that you think that we could be doing more from whether it be an RFU level or maybe within a society level to support? Obviously, Vicky touched on like it maybe not be consistent across other societies, and there might be pros and cons to Manchester and what we do. But also, is there anything we can do to advertise ourselves, almost to get this in front of as many people as possible? And I might be asking you a million question, and probably if the RFU could answer it, they probably would have done. But is there anything that you think we could be doing differently or help with?
I think from a society perspective, I think by having a growing candidate list of female match officials, I think is quite a big thing. I walk past girls' games and there's like pitch up and plays for girls' festivals. There's women only tournaments that happen across the Northwest and all across different areas of the country that we go to, and we all represent our own society when we're there, whether that's people coming in from different societies collectively or whether that's been one that's happened within the Northwest. I think the society do sort of try to help get us to the right places, and I think that's maybe a part of it is integrating female match officials into these events, so they aren't just the little collective group that they currently are with the girls rugby that's for under 18s. There tend to be messages between interclubs, and that's how the pitch plays and setups are. I think there's opportunities throughout the country for societies to integrate with clubs, for these bespoke events for girls, and there's also the bespoke events for women as well. So there's been quite a few women's only sevens tournaments over the summer that a couple of people had opportunities to referee at. So I think those are great places. I even had someone at the end of a match once ask me how she got into refereeing, or how I got into refereeing, and what could she do, because she wanted to be able to help to referee her son, because her son's games were getting cancelled and he was in sort of under 14s criteria. So I think there's a lot to be had by us just being present, going to matches, progressing, but having that variance. So both Vicky and myself do adults, women's and colts games. So I think that presence is more than anything. I think it's also great what they're doing with the World Cup, as Vicky mentioned. Obviously the match official programme that they did for female match officials as part of this World Cup build-up has been there's been such a great response for it. I think that's massively supported the female match official, and how we get more female match officials and even young female match officials into this career, I suppose. So I think there's lots to be done, but I think the steps going forward and the World Cup will only increase that.
Good. I mean, obviously you touched on sort of that, tournaments and festivals and sort of elite criteria stuff, but I presume that's a great way of sensing community, isn't it? It's a great way of learning from each other and connecting not only with female match officials but with match officials as a whole. Like Vicky, I know that you've been involved in various tournaments over your time. Is there a sort of a key takeout for somebody who's potentially thinking about, they do currently a few games a month or a couple of games a week, there might be an opportunity that comes up to attend a tournament like that, whether it be a small thing locally or you're a national one? Is there a sort of a tip that you could give them to engage in that and get the best out of it?
Yeah, so my second society appointment was Macclesfield Sevens, and I was deadly nervous and thought I wasn't good enough or quick enough, because I'm not the quickest person on the block. But I went, and it was so valuable for me. I went off to a pitch with Neil and Tyke from the society, and us three just refed the whole day together, and it was great. I was getting so much. I was doing 7 minutes break, 7 minutes, as you do in sevens, and getting input from two refs who have been out there for years, and they have so much experience, refed at high level, and that really helped me build up my confidence and go out and practice things. So it's a great chance to have short, sharp games, focus on one thing for 7 minutes or 10 minutes, however long those games are, go off, reflect on it, go back on and focus on the second thing. And you can just build so much throughout the day, and also get a lot of advice, because tournaments, you're not on your own. It's a great community. You have that support around you. You can go off and then talk to anyone about that decision you made. You weren't sure it was quite the right one. What would you have done in this situation, or whatever? So it's really, really good. I want to do more tournaments, because it's also good to get that insight, not just from people who referee in Manchester, but also in other parts of the country, and how the game is ref there, because it is slightly different around the country. So it's really good just to help build your toolkit ultimately, but also build your confidence if you're starting out. I think that tournament really helped me build my confidence, and I know it has for lots of other female match officials. They love going to tournaments because you're not on your own. As Rosie was touching on, it can be quite daunting going out there on your own, but you've got your fan club behind you when you're at the tournament, shouting you on. So yeah.
Well, that's part of it, isn't it? It's about that community, and it's about making sure that we're supporting each other. I think I'd like to touch on sort of like long-term plans for refereeing for both of you. Is it the Women's World Cup next year? Like, obviously you're still both relatively new to refereeing. Is there a goal in mind of where you think, I'd love to get to that level, or I'd love to referee this match, or what would it be for you, Rosie, to start with?
I think for me, I'd like to. I think a lot of referees, when they start, want to get as high as they can. For me, like, national would be amazing to get part of the national match official team, and that's currently where my goals and what I'm working on through anything I take back from any of my referee sessions. You have assessors who come and visit you, and they give you pointers and tips, and I think there's so many opportunities to learn and develop that the society offer and the RFU offer. So for me, it's getting as high as I can. I did have one goal to referee my other half, which I succeeded in at a 7th tournament last season. So I think as far as that goal, it's achieved.
How did you do? What was the feedback?
Got good feedback, to be fair. I really wanted to penalise him if he did anything wrong, but he actually played really well, frustratingly. But
was he the one that said he would have said something if you didn't have kids?
Maybe. But yeah, it was. I think there's the society as a whole, and it would be amazing to be part of the Rugby World Cup for 2025. I think it's such a fantastic event. It would be amazing to be part of that because I think the atmosphere will be fantastic. In society wise, getting to that national level is the challenge for myself. But the society support, where you want to go, whether you want to achieve high levels or whether you want to just ref a couple of local games every now and then, everyone is so accommodating for whatever you want to achieve with your refereeing career.
How about you, Vicky?
I think for me, it is just see how high I can get. I'm not the quickest kid on the block, and I never will be. So, and just finding the balance between work and refereeing is quite tough, particularly at the moment. So it's just seeing how high I can get. Last season, I had a goal to do a final at the end of the season, and I got that. So, this season we'll just see how it goes. But I quite enjoy ARing, so it might be something that I decide to take that further. I don't know, but I do quite enjoy that. You don't get to do it that much, which is a shame. But when you do get to do it, it's good fun because you kind of see the game from a different perspective. And so we'll see. But I will be at the World Cup probably in a stand, being the one judging, or not judging.
It's ruined rugby for you, hasn't it? I'd say if you were a fan of rugby watching before you're a referee, I feel like I can't watch rugby the same now. I'm just watching the ref constantly. Don't agree with that. And then it's I could have just watched the game, but I've ruined it basically for myself. And don't worry about the speed situation. I'm going to say on behalf of Johnny Cartwright, who will not mind me saying this, there are faster moving icebergs than Johnny Cartwright, and he's refereeing at level 5 because other strengths. So it's really good that you're both obviously wanting to go as high as possible. And I think, everyone's supported and everyone at every level, isn't it, are trying to support each other. And I know full well that if another female match official or if a new era entrant comes in tomorrow, we'd all be supporting them no matter what, whether it be I've had that team or it'd be really good if you listen to this person or whatever it might be. So that's really good to hear. I think finally, I just wanted to touch on best clubs you've been to. Now we're trying not to say the same ones. So we've had Wilmslow, Duckinsfield, Bowden, and one more which will elude me, Eccles. And Clitheroe, 5. So if there's anyone that isn't within that, please let us know and give a good reason for it. But what's the best club you've been to for various reasons?
So I thought quite long and hard about this because probably Wigan have some really good facilities particularly for female match officials. You get your whole own private changing room. You don't need to worry if there's going to be. I tend to look at the appointments and see, is there going to be a male there as well, and have they thought about this? That's usually my process. But I know going to Wigan, they've got 2 separate changing rooms. But I do want to give a shout out to Wilmslow, because that's the club I've been to, and I've been able to sit down after the game and have a genuine conversation with the coaches about how the game went, and a constructive conversation at that, and what they saw, what I saw, and how I could have made the game better for both sides. And as a match official, that's what you really want if you want to grow. And I really appreciated that. And it's quite hard to get that at quite a lot of clubs. You might be able to have a conversation, but I think there's a worry of offending, or because there's so much about match official abuse and things at the moment, there's that worry of like it being taken the wrong way. But if you're growing and you want to develop as a match official, being able to have a constructive conversation about the game afterwards to improve in the future is great. And I was really grateful for that from Wilmslow. So they'll get a shout out as well, even though they've been said already.
Rosie, how about you?
That's slightly like it was skipping my plans because I probably was going to pick Clitheroe because I had a really good experience.
We can still pick Clitheroe.
It's quite local to me as well. So I think maybe, and it's not just experience of the day, it's the setup that they have there as well. I quite like the balcony at Broughton Park, just because it makes you feel really tall. And it's really nice to look out on the pitch from that view. And they're always really welcoming. And I've also had, and not to take 2 or 3 if you include Clitheroe into my consideration, but I've refereed at Bolton a few times, and they've always been really nice there and really welcoming. And I think second what Vicky said, it's so nice to go to clubs where at the end of the match you are able to talk to coaches, to players, or people come up and ask you questions about things. I think it was Bedians who entertained me with a couple of questions at one point as well when I was quite early starting out, and it was really a nice confidence giver that they were commenting on how well the match was run and things like that. So I think there's a lot of credit when you are able to have those conversations because, as Vicky says, it helps you develop when you are there on your own. And it's also that nice welcoming factor that you don't just feel like the person who just blow the whistle at everybody for the last 80 minutes. You're also someone who enjoys the game with them. So I think it really helps build that rugby community.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind saying I think that the coaches that engage after in a productive conversation are by far the best coaches, and that's not from a refereeing point of view, but from a rugby point of view, because there is no way on earth people can say that it's so plain-sighted every decision, and everyone's been there. Everyone knows when you're on the sideline for 80 minutes and your team is getting penalised for something that you either haven't seen or you don't understand, it's really personal. And obviously, as referees, we know it's not personal. We know that we don't care who wins. So the referee conversation with a coach afterwards is so valuable because it's your chance to not defend ourselves, because that's not the right way of saying it, but almost understand and let them understand why we did something, because that's natural and we all make mistakes. Everyone knows that, but it's that feedback, isn't it? And I mean, we tried to say, like, I'll speak to you as long as it's a question, not a statement. You can't just tell me that I was wrong. You need to understand my perspective on it. So obviously both of you have mentioned that, which is a really good thing. I really appreciate your time tonight. So thank you so much. And yeah, it's been really great talking. And I wish you all well with the season. And obviously I'll see you at some society meetings going forward.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.